Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Six Rings King Show on a new night, Monday night now, baby. We're really excited actually to have Eric McLean on the show here, college football analyst, co-host of the Huddle. Coach, yes, all right.
First touchdown of the year.
Miami Hurricanes, yeah. You know the name already. It's Mercy. Ha ha. It's a six-ring Kane show. Can't forget the name though. Got Jazz, Blue, Vision, DJ, break the game code. Ain't no changing them, ain't no breaking them. Real important live from the Hard Rock Stadium. Ball 14 for the orange and green. We see the six-ring champs. It's more than a dream. This is life on the field. Beyond 100 yards, a hurricane that's never still put a damage to your squad.
What's wrong with us? Seriously.
What's wrong with us? We're Miami Hurricanes fans.
Welcome to the Six Rings Kane Show, a show dedicated to Miami Hurricane sports, featuring the legendary Larry Bluestein, Jazz Santana, Vish, and Danny Gillette. Let's go Canes.
And welcome back, everybody. What's going on, fellas? How you doing?
Good.
Happy to be here.
Yeah.
Good weekend.
Good timing on our shows. We skipped all the TBD drama.
Yep. Which you know what? Now that it's all over, all the stupid crap, we'll definitely address it a little bit for a couple minutes.
Yeah.
But real quick, a lot of things are starting to heat up. Actually, transfer portal is starting to heat up. Players, student athletes have, I think, another week to enter into the portal, and then it closes down essentially for that. Right? They can obviously. April 30th is the last day. Good. Appreciate that, DJ. And then they can still choose a school. Obviously, they've got all summer to choose their school, basically. But yeah, so we've got another week to see what's gonna happen. Obviously, for the Miami Hurricanes, and as far as what we're gonna see as far as transfers out of our school, and also who's coming in. So we'll get into that. And we'll get into maybe some players that we were interested in seeing in the orange and green as well. So, but before all that, I kind of wanted to address, the whole Tyler Van Dyke thing, because to be quite honest with you, anybody who watches this, if you don't know by now, we typically do not address rumors. And, we don't like to speculate. We don't like to talk crap. And we don't like to put anything out there on our Twitter handles, on our shows. We really don't get into it at all. We kind of let things play out. We let the truth come out. The version of the truth that is supposed to come out, and then we can kind of address it after that and make our remarks. And that's taking the fandom away from what we do, because typically, look, we're all Miami Hurricanes fans here. We love Miami, and we all want to kind of root for them and talk trash and this, that, and the other. But when it comes to things like this, when it comes to rooting against players, we're not going to root against any players here. We're not going to throw any players under the bus. We're going to criticize them, and we're going to talk about them when they make bad plays or when they're not doing things the right way, as we would do with the coaches and the staff. But we're never going to put them down. We're never going to do that on social media, and we're going to give them the benefit of the doubt, even as concerning as it was. There's a lot of concern in what went down with Tyler Van Dyke, whether it was him, whether it was his agent, whether it was just a load of crap, which I'm kind of leaning towards. That's why I didn't want to say anything. I want to get everybody's take, really, just a quick comment on this, because what's up, Lex, and what's up, Anthony? Sorry, shout out to the guys that are in the chat now. Look, for me, it was stupid, and I'm going to be really candid about this. It was stupid how everything went down. I don't like it one way or the other, whether it was true, whether it wasn't true. However, TVD responded, or lack of a response, I guess you can say, whether it was his agent trying to get more for an NIL deal. I'm going to put it plainly, and this is not a knock on TVD. Absolutely not a knock on TVD. There's one player on this team that I think that could ask for more money, quite frankly, in an NIL deal, can ask for more NIL. And that guy's name is hanging on the rafters right now. Okay, and he wears number 5 this year, but he wore 24 last year. Okay, that's the guy that can come in here and kind of dictate what he gets. That's just the bottom line to me. I'm not, and this is not a knock on TVD, but at the same time, like this could potentially, ruin a locker room, and that you have to be really cognizant of that kind of stuff. I don't know if he realizes that. I don't know if he's going to come out and say anything about it, but I just didn't like the whole situation, and I tried to refrain from talking about it at all on Twitter because I just, one way or the other, it's not my place to talk or comment about it until things are done. We all realized it was just a bunch of crap, and he was going to be here. And then all of this, and before you do that, everybody's crucifying him and wanting him to leave and saying, that's fine, let him leave. We're going to bring in somebody else, and we're not going to miss a beat. We're not going to skip a beat. Blue, you said it, and I'm going to start off with you. If we went anywhere, we were in deep trouble. I don't care who came in and started for the Hurricanes, whether it was a guy that was here on the team now or they picked up someone in the transfer portal. It was a big loss regardless. So if you're a fan and you're saying otherwise, I think you're absolutely delusional.
Yeah, well, I made my feelings known. It's just, and we can't get away from this. It's all about the Benjamins, as they say. It's all about money. I
like Blue throwing in the hip hop references. It's awesome.
Yeah, right.
Love it.
How about that? No, you know as well as I do. I mean, this is the culture we're living in, and not just here, everywhere. I mean, when I know we were talking beforehand where the Colorado wide receiver, because he couldn't get his number, is going to somewhere else, and that's where we're living now. That's a society that we're living in, and even though it could be an awkward situation for Tyler, moving forward, I just think I agree with you with Cam Kinchens, but there's a guy you just couldn't lose is Tyler Van Dyke. Too much of a drop off. I mean, you could insert, Williams or somebody if Kinchens goes down, and while you lose, you're not going to lose a whole lot. Quarterbacking is the position. There's such a gap. I mean, just a major gap between Van Dyke and Jacurri and anybody else who may come in. So he kind of held all the cards. And even though he's a good guy and he's, he's just down to earth, he's getting advice. And these people were in his ear. And there were a lot of people that were telling them that, hey, listen, go to Alabama. You go to Alabama. Their two kids had a terrible spring, and Nick, it'll insert you. You'll be in the national championship hunt. So he was listening, and the money was flowing. And I just think that he kind of came back to his senses and said, you know what? I'm going to get paid down the line. I'm going to get a few dollars this year. And if I play my cards right in this offense that I studied my butt off for a month to learn, and then go to some combine, he could turn into a top 3 round pick. Because of his arm strength, because of the fact that he has. You remember this year, before when he was going to come out last year, or the year before, and everyone goes, "Oh, he'll be right behind Bryce Young. He'll be number 2 or 3." Those are the same people that were saying that what's his name is going to be the number 2 pick. As a quarterback his sophomore year, and then all of a sudden he didn't have such a good year. But Tyler last year, and I think Vish said it. I mean, he had a great game against our Texas A&M. It's just nobody else did, on offense, and they made so many mistakes. We know what he's capable of. My opinion still remains he's a Cane. He'll be a Cane. And this is his game this year. This is going to be, now it's all on his shoulders. If he goes to Alabama, he's got 26 All-Americans around him. He's pretty much on the offensive side of the ball, the show. Who else? You don't have a receiver that stepped up to catch 50, 60, 70, 80 balls. Your running game is pedestrian, but good, not great. Your offensive line is a work in progress, probably a place where they're going to show more improvement than anywhere else. So, he's the guy. And I think that somebody got in his head because he's pretty mild-mannered. I've talked to him, And, he's not a boisterous guy. He's not like, hey, you know what, I'll show them. And I just think somebody got in his head and would probably tell him, listen, your value is more than you think it is. And you need to explore it. And
yeah, I know who got in his head, Blue. It was Drew Rosenhaus.
Yeah. Okay. Well, whoever it is, I'm just saying that you've been in press conferences with him and talked to him. He's really mild mannered. He's not he's not one of those guys. I'll kick their butt. He's
not a vocal leader in that sense.
Yeah. So but there's a time where you say, there's a point where you have these guys that are kind of like in the background type of stuff. And then you get these people who start being their mouthpieces. And if it's Drew Rosenhaus or Gary Furman or whoever it may
Listen,
be.
if you're like, let me continue, Blue. My bad. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, that's my opinion. I just think that
if you're letting anybody from the media get in your head, not even Gary Furman. If you're letting anybody in the media get it,
okay, we won't give Gary publicity.
Okay, But look, okay, so you bring up a great point, right? You said that he's not a guy that's rah gonna have to show you. I'll prove you guys that right. Here's the thing, and I'm gonna kick this over to Vish. Now he's got to be that guy. In my opinion, he's got to be the guy that's gonna prove it and go out there, because as Fernie says here on the chat, right? TBD has to really step up this year and prove his worth, or the fan base will eat him alive. Yeah. And they will. And whether it's him that did this or whether it was his management team that did this, they've put a target on his back one way or the other. And he's going to have to prove that he is the elite quarterback that a lot of people think he is, especially down here in Miami. And he's going to have to show something. This is not the first time he does this, right? Or his camp does this. This is the second time that they do this. At some point, you're going to lose that locker room. You're going to lose the players are not going to have any confidence in you. And this is my thought process as a fan, right? This might not be true, but the fact of the matter is, Vish, he's going to have to prove something. He's going to have to come out and show that he was worth all of this headache, this hoopla, this anxiety, everything that he's caused the fan base and the team, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think he was already there, though, anyway. I don't think it's that different. I mean, that clip in the intro where I'm saying what is wrong with us and you say we're Miami Hurricane fans, that's because they tried to kill him after Middle Tennessee. But he didn't do – no, that was after the Middle Tennessee game. Like, this guy sucks, run him out of town, put in Jake Garcia, who doesn't even play here anymore. Like, this was – and so I think we're delusional if we think if this team goes out there and does not beat Texas A&M, they're going to kill him. They're going to kill Mario. They're going to kill both the new coordinators, even though it's their second game. Like, we all, put our thinking caps on, like, 8 wins. We're not that good. But once the ball's in play, we could be playing Alabama, and they're like, man, why didn't De'Aaron King win that game for us? And it's just like, what? So I actually don't think it's that different. And for the locker room, look, everyone just wants to win. The receivers want the ball, right? I mean, he's the best quarterback on the team, so they're going to want him to play. I mean, that's the bottom line. Like, they don't want to play with the other two guys. Like, they all want their numbers, right? Yeah. The receivers are trying to show up for scouts too. Like, they need TBD back there. So, we don't know. So, like, I totally agree with you, Jazz, when you said, why if this was just complete BS, why didn't he come out there immediately and say, I don't know what everyone's talking about? Right. So clearly there was at least a little bit of there. But I will say, Blue mentioned one irresponsible media member. There was another one that amplified the hell out of it because he was trying to take a shot at Johnny Ruiz, and he built this whole narrative around it and was immediately disproven wrong and just like piece by piece walked back his story. And then when it blew up and TVD, finally confirmed and the school confirmed he was staying, said, this contradicts what CaneSport reported. And I'm like, dude, how about a little personal responsibility here? And I think if that didn't happen, it would not have, because look, we all hear the same rumors that, like you said, we don't generally report on the rumor stuff. Not that there's anything wrong with the shows that do. That's just not what we do. Right. Like, there's a lot of shows that we watch that we go on that they're more adept at doing that. Frankly, we're not good at that anyway. like there's a million Cage shows. We have our niche, and it's more the straight reporting stuff, and the straight commentary on what's already happened versus kind of the speculation side of things. And there are other shows that are better than that. that obviously have to talk about that because that's what they do. So no knock on them for doing it. But the reason it got mainstreamed is because the Miami Herald is talking about it. Right? That's not us on a show. That's not canesport.com.
Not only are they talking about it, they're putting stuff out there that's not legit.
That's not true. And I think that's what amplified it so badly and kind of blew it out of control because, I mean, you click on the Miami Herald Twitter, it's like 31 Pulitzer Prizes. Okay, now if they're talking about something, it tends to carry more weight than like me saying something on a show. So I think that also like did him a disservice, and he obviously had nothing to do with that. And I also just generally speaking, everyone's got to look out for themselves, man. If someone's throwing a bag at you, you got to look at it, right? I mean, I think every player on the team will understand that too. I think if Alabama, you mentioned Cam Kitchens. If Alabama shows up with a truckload of money right now, it's like, you want to start at safety in the national championship game instead? He's out the door. I mean, what are we talking about? Or maybe he's not out the door. Maybe he's like, but he's going to think about it. Like, there's no way you don't think about it. I wouldn't say he's out the door because maybe
Cam might think about it, but that guy is now he's hanging on the rafters. I don't think he's going anywhere.
I mean, you never.
But I get what you're saying.
No, we just had a receiver transfer from Oklahoma to Texas. I mean, from Texas to Oklahoma today. Like, I mean, there's no loyalty in these streets, man. And I think they all understand what the game is now. Now you can get money out of this. Like, straight up, they will give you money. And I think all the players are in the same boat. And I shouldn't have said Cam would take it because I actually don't know that he would, and I don't think he would because I think he wants his legacy here, which might be worth more than the money. But you're out your mind if you think everyone wouldn't consider it. Like, all of a sudden, like, the best program in the country is calling it. You want to be the starting quarterback for Alabama and we'll give you a bunch of money? I mean, how do you not at least pause and look at it and say,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's only human to do that. And I think the players will understand that more so than the fans, because the fans are never going to be put in a position where someone's – I mean, how many of our fans, if someone gave you a bunch of money to go be an Alabama fan instead, would take it immediately and, like, go buy a Crimson shirt or something? I mean, you know, that's not a real thing, though. So I think the players actually probably understand a little bit more than maybe we do, because they put themselves in those shoes, and like the best programs in the country are calling you and saying, "We'll give you money to play quarterback here." I mean, I don't think they're going to kill him for thinking about it or hesitating to say no.
Well, I think you make a good point. You make a valid point because a lot of those other players kind of feel like if they would be in that situation, they might think about it also. So they might be able to, kind of relate to that a little bit.
Yeah. And like, we're all professionals that work jobs, right? And if someone comes to you and offers you money, you're going to think of, I mean, maybe you won't take it because maybe you like what you're doing and you don't want to leave, but you sure as hell going to think about it, right? You might go back to your own job and be like, hey, company X was willing to pay me this. What do you got for me, right? I mean, these are kind of natural reactions that for some reason when it comes to athletes, we don't give them that same leeway we would give ourselves.
I want to talk about we'll get to that in a second, but I want to get DJ's kind of thoughts on this. I have a question for you, DJ. Should, we mentioned it a little bit, right? TV should have kind of come out and said something, when he was, when all of this was going on, and kind of reaffirmed his commitment to Miami and all that. Mm-hmm. Do you think he still should have come out, or do you think he still should come out and say something to kind of back his team and back the university?
See, this is a hard one for me because I've seen a lot of fan bases, and it's if he does, there's still going to be people that eat him alive. If he doesn't, there's going to be people that eat him alive as well. So, I mean, while I think he probably should have said something with the rumors swirling, I don't fault him for not doing so. He probably wants to, focus on playing football and, trying to, just kind of focus on what he can compartmentalize. Because I can't imagine, all these rumors swirling around me, for example, and I just want to play football, or I just want to, check out this program. So I can't fault him for not releasing a statement, but I mean, it's in my opinion, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't type of scenario. So I don't fault him for not coming out either.
Yeah. Hey, Vish.
I got it.
Yeah, take this one.
Yep. So I guess there's a question in the chat. I'll give my opinion and pass it around to you guys. His agent works for him. It falls on TBD. Should have reined him in. Now Coach Mario needs to open up the QB competition. TV needs to earn it in his teammates' eyes. So a couple of things there. Unless the evaluation of the quarterback and position involves something other than playing quarterback, you can open whatever you want up. It's not even close. Like, there's no one that's even going to be competitive in an open competition with him. So I'm not sure exactly. I mean, we could say, all right, equal reps for all three of them to start off fall practice. It'll take about 10 minutes for TBD to separate himself. The other thing is, I think because everything's so intense with the social media and like we're all obsessive with it, right? We're all on there, we're all hitting refresh to see is this actually going to happen. All of that took less than 24 hours from like the rumor to come out all the way through for him to deny it. So it wasn't like it lingered for like 3 weeks or something. So it to me, like, I don't think this will have a lasting impact, but Blue, I'll throw it to you. What's your opinion on that?
I agree with you. I don't think there's going to be a lot of lasting impact with it. I just think that, I mean, the whole thing is, I mean, last week I had Mario on my show, and all day long, Jazz was saying to me, he goes, you got to ask him all these questions. No, I don't want to start this stuff. You know, and I'm sure that's the one thing that he came out of spring. That was the last thing that he wanted. Really. I mean, think about it. I mean, that's the very last thing. He's trying to rally the troops and try to explain, you know, well, we didn't play this and this guy was out and we had 9 guys out, and that's not a way to go into the off season. So Van Dyke takes off and he's gone for, I think, 12 days and he's back home, you know, and they just didn't want things to, I mean, I'll tell you what, I think if he had any of this, that's why if you notice in his press conferences, he'll say a statement, then he'll turn out the questions because he doesn't want anything unturned. I mean, you know, he doesn't want somebody to run off and like speculate. And you know how it is. I mean, when they didn't have a head coach, and Mark Richt was, you know, going to, you know, come in, but they never even, you know, everyone speculate, oh, we'll get Gruden, and he doesn't want that. You know, he wants to kind of nip this stuff in the bud. But unfortunately, he can't comment on NIL stuff, which, you know, I mean, that's why the NCAA is just out of control. I mean, because there's no governing, there's nothing no guidelines. But no, I agree with you. This is not something that you wanted to follow this, you know, what I thought was a very productive spring. They got a chance to look at a lot of the young guys, and
the timing was about as bad as could be because
terrible.
Coming right out of spring practice, you're trying to keep some momentum going. The portal reopened, you're trying to add, and then all of a sudden the starting. I mean, it might have actually slowed a little bit of the momentum that we kind of were trying to create out of spring practice. All those high school kids were committing. The portal had reopened, and then dealing with that was definitely very bad timing for us, I think, but.
Yeah,
I don't know that it's going to matter come August. Like, I agree. I'm still thinking.
I just
remember that one day in April, because that's all it actually was.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think DJ's remaining quiet today because he secretly ushered Willis McGahee's kid out of here to Nebraska.
I know. What's going on, DJ?
They got somebody down there in Florida recruiting for Nebraska.
Did you not see what Willis did to him in the Rose Bowl? Come on.
I know that was nasty.
Listen, we all know what's happened to all the players in South Florida end up committing to Nebraska, right?
They come back. They come back because they can't handle the cold.
Yeah. So
or the non-culture there. I mean, you know,
I'm not too worried about that over there. Although Matt Rule seems to be doing a good job over there so far.
He's doing all right.
Yeah,
so we'll see.
It's been a good few weeks.
Don't tell Deion they play him second game.
Yeah, right.
Don't even get me started on Deion. That's a whole other show.
Speaking of Deion and kind of maybe transitioning to the portal a bit.
Speaking of Deion, everybody saw that mass exodus. I think it was mass exodus. It was about 13 players, I think, that left the team, and that was only a matter of time before something like that was going to happen. You saw it looked like their number one receiver caught 3 balls for 154 yards and 2 touchdowns and transferred out the next day.
Yeah, he's not allowed to wear number 1, but he is their number 1 receiver.
Yeah, awesome. But not to talk about Deion in Colorado because this is a UM show, but it kind of begs the question, Blue and Vish and DJ, all of you guys, are you all surprised that we haven't seen it yet as far as the mass exodus in the second half of the transfer portal from Miami yet? I know we still have about a week before they need to do anything, but are you guys surprised that we haven't seen more than just Ishmael kind of transfer so far? Do you expect to see a lot of guys kind of leave? And by the way, Miami has 8 spots as of right now to fill. Just to give you an idea, we'll kind of go over, what spots we want to see, filled and so on, and maybe some players. But are you surprised by that at all? Vish, we'll start off with you. Are you surprised by that?
Not necessarily. Maybe I expected a few more, but not like you said. We're already lean. A lot of players already left. That's why we have the 8 spots open. So, I mean, I'm looking through like who would potentially be leaving. It's not surprising Ishmael when you saw like Ruben Bain play. It's like, this guy's like, I'm never gonna play here. Get me the hell out of here. I think actually Jazz and I saw him at a baseball game, so he's definitely into the Miami.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that. That was last year, but so like he's definitely was not like out of place in Miami. I think
It's a matter of playing time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think when you start looking at that, it's hard to see him playing. But I think there's an opportunity. I think a lot of these players still view this as a good opportunity to play because we don't have a deep roster. So I think that's probably. I think it could be again. They have a short timeline, like you said, till the 30th to get in the portal. But if we see some players start committing, we might see some of our other players feel like they got to push out. Maybe at the receiver position, especially, which is I know something we're going to talk about in a bit. But if we start picking up some receivers that we know are going to push them down the depth chart, you might see some of the back end of our depth chart leave.
Yeah, I still think you're going to see a couple more guys leave, at least five or six more guys leave. So, and you'll see it this week. This week is when you obviously have to see it. So, and Carlos, yeah, I mean, look, that just means what Carlos says here. That just means none of the guys want to leave. Going to be up to the coaches on who they kick out. Look, I don't necessarily agree with that. I understand where you're coming from because there may be some players that don't want to leave, and and coaches are going to be doing exit interviews with some of these players and say, look, you're just not going to play. We're going to help you find another spot. Then there's also the possibility that some of these players that are looking to transfer out won't announce that they're hitting the transfer portal yet because the fact of the matter is, coaches and teams back channel all the time. And so they're trying to find the right deal before they enter the transfer portal so they don't get caught in limbo and be one of those players that they don't find a spot after they enter the transfer portal. So you're going to see maybe some of these guys that enter the portal, already have a place in mind, and you'll see them a day or two later kind of announce it. So I think that's what really, what we're waiting on there.
I also don't know that there'll be a push from the coaches to get players out of there, just because again we don't have the depth. Like you're going to want these guys on the roster for practice and whatever. But so I think if everyone that's here now stays, I think the coaches are fine with that for now. We're not going to bring in another 10 players from the portal or something where we need to push someone out and we need the practice depth. And you never know if someone gets injured. You might have to play some of these kids even if they're not. Look, we're not at the state yet where we can throw kids away, to be honest. Like
we can throw Javion Cohen's away. Like
we're just not good, nearly good enough. So anyone that's here will have I don't think anyone's going to get pushed out at all. I think it's more just if they want to leave.
Yeah, I don't think anybody will get pushed out per se, but I think some of them will have the writing on the wall per se. Look, we've got to fill about 8 spots right now, guys, and I want to talk about some of the positions.
Just real quick, Jazz, on that point though, if you look at it from the player's perspective, let's say the coach is like, you're not going to play a lot, like garbage time, you're not really in our plans in the 2 deep. But then I look at the depth chart and I'm like, 2 guys get injured, I might be playing a lot. And until we bring more players in, and this is a good transition to what you're about to talk about, until we fill some of these spots, even if the coach is saying, you're not near the top of our plans, you might not play a lot. If I'm looking at the depth chart and seeing that's shallow, it's football. It's a physical sport. Players get injured. I mean, we were like, if you looked at the depth chart last year at running back at this point, like you're never going to play. We were playing a walk-on by October.
Yeah.
So
true.
I think some of them are probably like, until someone else comes in here, I might not be in your plans, but there's only 3 other guys at this position. If 1 or 2 of them get hurt, I'm going to play a lot. So I
Yeah,
think that's probably
especially
all playing into it.
But that's the
especially
case of basically every position on this team right now.
Yeah.
There's no depth, extensive depth, right now. Running back may be, but even then, you're relying on a freshman and 2 incoming freshmen to add the depth to you.
Yep. No, I think speaking of that, I think you're going to end up seeing Miami go after a running back in the transfer portal. I think a couple other positions. I think you're still going to see them go after a quarterback. I think it's important to get a veteran quarterback here with some playing time under his belt.
Got to get a linebacker in there.
You definitely have to get a linebacker. I think you got to get another one. I know there's some names out there that people have thrown around. Brian Davis is one name I know that a lot of people have been throwing around, and some other guys. The kid from Cincinnati, although I think he may have committed already. But there's going to be some names this week. You're going to see a lot more action in that transfer portal from a lot of schools that are going to lose some guys, and it's not just because they're not going to get playing time. They're looking for better offers. They're looking for a better opportunity to get playing time. You're going to see some of these smaller schools, some of these group of 5 schools with some stud linebackers, some stud players that are going to hit the transfer portal because they want to play in the Power 5. And here's the thing. They're going to have to get some guys at some pivotal positions. Defensive tackle is a big one for me. I think that they just don't have the depth there right now. They've got Leonard Taylor, Branson Dean, Jared Harrison, Hunt, Ahmad Moten. Thomas Gore, I don't know how much he's going to play, to be honest with you. And you still got to get a couple guys there because that's really important, is to have, at least 3 or 4 deep at the defensive tackle position. So I think you're going to see them going after someone in defensive tackle and maybe even another defensive end and a defensive back, a cornerback, I think. I think all those positions, I know there's some other positions that I'll let you guys name, but those are the positions that I think are going to be really critical in Coach Cristobal and his staff evaluating properly in the transfer portal and picking up some guys there. On the offensive side of the ball, we'll let you guys kind of DJ. Are any thoughts on, what positions you'd like to see Miami kind of go after?
Maybe a tight end, and I only say that because there's not a lot of experience at the position right now. There is a lot of upcoming names in terms of, talent like Carver and guys like that, but one of the worst things you can do to a young player is rush them in their development. And, I think getting somebody at the tight end position, and let me say this, I understand that this offense is probably not going to utilize the tight end a ton, but even still, I think we do need experience in the room. Because the last thing you want to do is rush the development of a younger guy and then, kind of not mess him up, but stunt his growth in terms of being a fully developed player ready to contribute. So I would say tight end would probably be a big one for me. I mean, like Blue kind of alluded to, we have running back depth. It's just a lot of freshmen and unproven players. I mean, I feel okay about the wide receiver position, but I guess to me the big one is tight end.
Yeah, I want to kind of address what Pim Down said. Really, another linebacker. We've got 3 more coming in. Yeah, but the problem is that the guys that you have coming in are freshmen.
Yep.
And so that's why I think you need another veteran guy to come in and give you some good minutes there.
It's the same thing. The reason I showed that as DJ was talking about tight ends, but the same thing applies there. You don't want to throw freshman linebacker and they're going to get killed.
Yeah.
Because
you got to be really special. You got to be like that kid over at LSU. But
even those, they generally are specialized players. They have a lot of big boys around them. Like we're not, again, I think we need to have a come to Jesus about the state of this program right now. Like if you put a freshman out there, he's not going to be protected. Jazz, you just spent all this time talking about how the defensive tackles aren't up to standard. You're going to stick a middle linebacker behind them that's a true freshman? He's going to LSU can plug one guy in when the rest of them are 21, 22-year-old grown-ass men, right? I mean, we are such a work in progress that if you throw we're not going to be able to okay, just do this one thing, do it really well, rush the quarterback or, put you in these positive situations and then the defensive line is going to eat up the offensive linemen so you'll just be able to make tackles. We're nowhere near that level right now. And so anyone that's on the field is going to have to carry a lot of weight. And that's why, in the DJ's point, you don't want to damage some freshmen by putting them out there when they're too early and, having them take lumps that they don't need to take.
The only problem is, and Blue, I'll kick this over to you. The only problem is, again, the transfer portal could backfire there, right? So if you don't give them a little bit of playing time, if you don't give them the opportunity that, hey, you might be able to come in and play a little bit. Um, I mean, it is what it is, right? It's the nature of the beast. You're going to end up losing some guys anyways. But as far as adding some pieces, right? Tap rights here. We need a defensive tackle, corner, safety, running back. Yeah, we need a lot of things, right? Just based off of that, we need a lot of things. Blue, if you had to choose something, I kind of want to. Maybe you can kind of tell me a little bit about the wide receiver position, because I still think that we need a guy that could take the top off the defense there, and could be like your Charleston Ramble, your that. And I hate to say this, but you're Mike Harley, right? That can go out and get you 5-10 catches a night, and be really, really, really productive. And I know we have a guy like X, but again, a guy that could take the top off, defense.
Like an Osborne or somebody like that. But my point is this: when you come to, because like Vish said, you can go probably to every single position on the team and find a need. Obviously that Fernando.
He named everybody. Yeah, he named every position.
Well, Blue teed it up. I was like, I gotta show this now. Because...
yeah, what about a kicker, Fernando? While you're at it.
I was not happy with the punting in the spring game. So
yeah, well, but here's the thing. I understand what you're saying about wide receiver, but they feel a whole lot better now than they did last year at this time, because they got good performances out of a guy who really didn't look really good last year, and maybe because they put a lot of pressure on George to do a lot of things, and I thought he had a pretty good spring. He had a really good spring game, and that to me last year he didn't. In the first half of the game, he dropped 4 balls. Okay, he made some catches later, but that's against a third team. I want to see what you do right away. And like you said, Young's a dude. You talk to any of the kids on the team, and they'll say, hey, it's a big physical kid that's got, he's got some speed, and he could separate himself. And then you said X, because X is really a very valuable member of this team, because he's a lead by example guy, kind of a quieter guy, but he's a lead by example guy. And if he's out there throwing his little 190-pound frame around like he does, and it got bigger, and I told you saw him at the spring game, Jazz, he got bigger. Yeah. Maybe too big, maybe he needs to scale it back a little bit, but you got him. You got Brashard. I think that Brashard could have a pretty good year, coming in, and then you got all those young kids. But you could take any position on the team and say, well, we need another one. If they didn't get another wide receiver, I wouldn't be broken up. But they need to get definitely another defensive lineman.
Well, Blue, before we go to another position, this is a big one, right? Xavier Henderson. Speaking of another X, he's a kid. He's a local kid. The transfer portal out of Florida. What's your take on X as a guy, another X that we can bring in here? Is he the type of guy that Miami could use?
Had a good spring game too. I watched it. I wouldn't be upset. I watched him for 4 years, and before, and his brother, was really, really good too. They're kind of both, big time kids, and like you said, there's no guarantee that who you bring in here is going to work out. For the most part, everybody, all I heard when they were bringing Rambo in is, he wasn't good enough to stay at Oklahoma, and all those kids beat him out. And, so there's always going to be a negative on anybody you bring in. I just think you have to do your research, and you have to talk to people. What type of kid is he? Is he one of these kids that really, is a leader who just has a work ethic out the house, and just like a guy like X, but a little bit bigger, a little bit faster, somebody that's going to separate himself, is going to take the top off, as you say. But to me, the thing is paramount is on defense. The front seven is, 2 guys get banged up, and that's just a pedestrian at the best front seven. Because you got 2 linebackers right now, 2. And then, you know, Flagg, who's a great player, but he doesn't belong in the starting lineup on a team that wants to win not 8-9 games. So you have 2 guys. Malgola had a great, and we can't say he didn't. And he's a dude that they wanted. And then Wesley has been banged up a little bit and he didn't play. But after that, who you have? Who you have with any experience? So I think you bring 1 and 1
That's the
in.
key is experience. That's the
Who?
key, right? That's the key.
Oh, yeah,
experience.
yeah.
Because
Well,
you've got guys like Chase Smith, but again, he's been hurt so much that it's hard.
He didn't get experience.
Yeah, right.
And we found out that's so valuable to get in. I don't care if it's Duke or Middle Tennessee State. You got to have experience. You got to come in there and, you know, act like you've been there before. And I agree too. Even though I thought that Darryl Porter had a really good spring game, he did. I went and back and watched the whole thing out. And then when he only got beat really on those 2 plays, but those 2 plays were, I mean, if George takes one more step and he's out of bounds, and Jacoby obviously, you know, got in front of him and because he's so big, but I thought he had a really good spring, but you could add another cover corner. And you know, I'm sure that they have the big board, and you know, they have everything, the key kids written down that they need to get. It's gotten so much like the NFL. It's crazy because, you know, you have that capology now. I mean, you have to have a roster manager. You know, back in the day, they never had roster management. I mean, everybody on the staff did their own, you know, input on roster. Now you got to have a guy just for that. And somebody who needs to scour, like you said before, the portal and to see who's a fit. And when you get that guy who's a corner or a guy who's a receiver coming out, you got to do some homework on him, because you just can't bring him in here and, you know, and him make him fit if he's not going to be a fit. And, you know, he's never played the position, or you do he's like, you know, he's a turd in the locker room. You don't need that. You don't need that, because that'll ruin your team. And that's the one thing when college coaches call me, you know, and talk about kids, they don't ask how can he catch the ball. They can see that. They just want to know what type of character he has and, you know, what he is away from the camera, because that, you know, that type of cancer will kill your team. I don't care if he runs a 4.3 40 or not. It just kills your team. And you need team players. You need, like Cam Kinchin's team player, guys like that who will bend over backwards to make sure that everybody around them is equally as good as they are, or equally putting in as much time as they are. And I think that would make this spring a lot different. You have different guys now. You have coaches that want to be accountable, that are going to be held accountable, and they look forward to that. You know, just in my brief talk, you know, with both, you know, Guidry and also having a chance to talk to some of the other new coaches, Timmy Harris, and you could just tell Kevin Beard. I haven't heard a negative word from anybody about Kevin Beard. All they've said is he's a worker. He's going to elevate that position. You talk to Restrepo, you talk to anybody like that, no, I'll tell you. So that wasn't the case last year. You know, I mean, more of last year. And Jason Taylor, I can't press upon you guys, you know, what a difference he is. Yeah, it's good to have him on the sideline and, you know, during the game, peel him back. But he's you'll see, he'll be as active as anybody this year, because he hates losing. And you know, he was the first to talk about some of the guys who really impressed him. Remember, he's a Hall of Famer, so you got to do a lot of good things to impress him. And he thought Bain was just amazing. Messidor, guys like that, just talked about, you know, players who, and if he gives you that endorsement, you work harder. And then when you work harder, you elevate the team. And all these people talk about, well, that guy's an individual player. No, not really. He's doing things individually to get better, so the team gets better. And I think people have a distinction there. And, oh, he's in it for himself. No, he's not. He's in it for himself to get better, because when you get better as an individual, it reflects on the team. And there's a lot of people that don't understand that and can't grasp that. But just, you know, getting back to your question, Jazz, You got to get position. You definitely got to work on your linebacker, your defensive front, and a cornerback on defense as a priority. You need maybe to bring in another running back, but definitely a receiver. And if there's an offensive line who wants to come out there and compete, geez, you look at Ohio State, they had 11 offensive linemen last year that were beasts, that were 4 and 5 stars. So you can never have that many. Just like you look at all the really good teams have 2 and 3 Banes. You know what I'm saying? Like Alabama, loses a guy and then they just, a guy grows another claw and he's in there. So, yeah, but that's what I feel about it.
Cool. Before we keep moving, Vish, I'll throw it to you after that, but let's give a shout out to our sponsors, Prize Picks, real quick here. Almost forgot to mention them again. Story of my life. PrizePicks.com. Check them out. Log in to PrizePicks.com. When you log in and you sign up, use the code word 5, FIVE, and they will match your initial deposit up to $100. It's real simple. Once you log in, you pick 2 to 5 players, depending on how much money you want to make. You pick the over-under on their individual categories. You can mix and match players from different teams, different sports, everything. You can kind of do it all, right? The Major League Baseball, NFL, college football, Formula One. You got it all. NHL, you can do it all on there on prizepicks.com. Prize Picks. Make sure you check them out. So again, log in, sign up. You can use the code word 5, FIVE, for your initial deposit, and they will match it up to $100. And make sure you log in. It's on prizepicks.com. Vish, I kind of wanted to get your take, right, on some of the players that could be leaving, and some of the positions that obviously we've talked about most of the positions that we do need some depth at, but maybe there's one that needs a little bit more than others. I keep saying guys like the wide receiver position is all good and dandy, but they have shown improvement there. Defensive backs, Devontae Brown and Darryl Porter both look pretty good, but I still think that we need another guy there as well. Jaden Harris looked good as well, by the way. I forgot to mention him. But there's still some needs there at the defensive back position, and definitely also on the line, both lines, offensive line and defensive line. What are your thoughts on those? And if there's another position that maybe you're looking at that we might need to add some depth to?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned especially corner. You can never have enough of those, right? I mean,
right.
Teams run 4 and 5 receivers out there, and you need to be able to cover, which can paper over a lot of cracks if you have DBs that can cover and make plays. But yeah, I think the defensive line still. I mean, it's great that Bain showed out. He's a true freshman. Like, I mean, as Blue said, Alabama has like 3 or 4 of those guys. And they're like, we just need more, and we need more, and that's a position where I think one of the things we don't necessarily think about all the time is like how much your body changes when you're 18 to when you're like 20, 21, 22. You got to go get some juniors and seniors out of the portal to fill that position out that are like already filled out, that have been through several years of college strength and conditioning.
Right.
And not just for depth, but just to take that abuse so that way you can unleash Bain. Because if you're having to play him too much, he's going to wear down. I don't care who you are. If you're a true freshman and you're putting your hand in the ground and running into 300-plus pound offensive linemen on every play, and you have to do that from game 1 to game 12, you're going to wear out. You're going to get hurt. You're going to lose your effectiveness. And I know he's not really going to start from day one, but I would love to be able to not have to play him in rundowns, not have to play him, in some of the more physical and preserve him. Because right now I can't imagine he's not in the 2 deep. And that's a lot to ask on him because you're like an injury away from starting him. And that's a lot to ask for a true freshman. So I think definitely and then you mentioned we're just light at defensive tackle. There's just not a lot of frankly talented depth there. So, and even Harrison Hunt's a guy we platoon at end too. So it's that is a very, very light position. So yeah, I would just all bring me all the defensive linemen. Does Mesidor have any friends?
I'm sure he's got a lot of them.
He's gonna have a lot of them in the NFL in a year. But
I know. I heard Flo mention a guy from Ole Miss, Kid Malone. I'm not very familiar with him, but I know that he's He's a big time guy that entered the transfer portal. Blue. I don't know if you know anything about the kid Malone over at Ole Miss, and he seems like a guy that could come in and and do some things here at the defensive tackle position.
Yeah, big guy, very physical, quick off the ball, a space eater. And certainly I had a chance to watch him, and he's going to be tough. But there's 5 or 6 schools right now that are looking at him. And if you say that, with Miami, you can say, well, we have a lot of young guys up front. We need you in there to kind of lead the way. Just like Cohen is, just like Liar, is on the offensive side. You get a guy like that with the experience and the knowledge of the position, and you never know what happens. I mean, they could be, I think didn't he go in the portal last week or today, or when did he go in?
I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday.
Yeah,
or maybe even last week. By the way, maybe it could have been last week.
I want to say maybe Friday, but I could be wrong.
Could be wrong.
Well, I talked to a guy who went against him 2 years ago.
Yes, Tap, you're right. You're right. Everything.
What happened?
Fernando says, so you guys are saying I was right and we need everything. Yes. Right.
I'll just reiterate. You need to have a proper perspective of where this program is talent-wise right now.
Yeah.
It is a sad reality of where we're at.
Oh, boy. Yeah, it's tough. Give me one player, Blue, because I think there's a lot of guys out there, but give me one player that you want to see come to Miami from the transfer portal, that hit the transfer portal. Just one.
Yeah,
I know it's hard to say one.
Well, I don't really, know everybody that's, I haven't checked on the portal. I know there's a lot of, like you said, the Malone kid, who he play all 13 games last year. I think he would be a guy I would pursue because of the fact of his experience, because of his, where he's been. He's played in 29 games and at a high level. So I would have to say he would be one of the guys. If I had a list, I don't have a list in front of me, so I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I think DJ, I don't know if you have a list or not, but give me one name, DJ, that you'd like to see in the transfer portal come to Miami.
I was just looking because there's so many names, and I can actually put the link in the chat here for you, Blue, because it does kind of narrow it down a little bit. But
yeah,
I was just taking a look at Elijah Brown. He transferred from Alabama, and I know tight end is maybe not our biggest need, but like I said, someone that has experience.
DJ just wants a damn tight end. All right,
I do want a tight end.
He's been saying for like 3 weeks already. Get the guy a damn tight end.
Yeah.
All right?
Man,
not bad enough. We have a 46-year-old one in there now, so it's
man. He really took that Khalil Brantley news hard.
Yeah, he took it hard.
Yeah. Did not realize that's kind of effect on it.
Because I'm envisioning whichever quarterback is under center needing
a
safety valve as he's running for his life.
A 6 tight end set. I get it.
With the offensive line.
That's Shannon Dawson's new.
That's all Gaddis needed for his offense to work. Just more tight ends.
More tight ends. Vish, I don't know. Vish doesn't have any clue about transfer portal guys, but give me a guy. Give me a name. Come on.
The kid from Colorado, just because he told. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why though. First of all, he's obviously talented. He's a big kid.
He is.
I think we could use some big receivers to throw the ball up because we don't really have that. The second thing, he told an FSU alum to shove it, and
okay,
that is he's already preparing.
One down here, I forgot.
Who wears number 1? I don't think we have a number 1 down here, right?
Yeah, we'll move some numbers around. We can do that. That's much easier than finding hundreds of thousands of dollars in the couch to hand him. So if that's all that's going to take, he can wear number 1. But I don't even think we're going to be in for him. But that just he's already actually more real on the talent evaluation.
Yeah.
The one thing, because Blue mentioned our receivers did have a much better spring than last year, and frankly. out of everything that happened in the spring, that was probably the most encouraging position in terms of where we thought it was coming in and what it showed out. But we still lack size. And Montana's 6'3". And I think, that a quarterback's best friend is, I'm just going to throw this up in one-on-one because my big receiver is going to get it. And we haven't really had, even though Rambo and Harley caught a lot of passes, is Cager the last big target we've had on the outside?
Yeah.
I mean, right? He's probably the last guy where we're just I can throw this up in traffic and he'll go get it. Right. Now, sometimes you have to hit him more than once on consecutive plays, but eventually he catch the ball. And I think it's been that long since we've really, because that is definitely a safety valve, and it's an important part of a lot of offenses that we just don't have as an option. Because
I mean, Kobe Young is 6'5", and his athleticism, I'm not saying he's going to be the guy, but I mean, they could be, a spot for him to emerge maybe as the season goes on.
Yeah, it's not just height though. It's going up and getting the ball, high pointing it. He didn't really. He was actually effective last year until TVD got injured. He was our best receiver until then, but I don't recall him really going up and, frankly, going over the top of.
Who's that? Kobe Young?
Yeah, going over the top of DBs consistently.
Well, maybe not consistently, but he got up
there. I was gonna say, I remember him getting some air.
Yeah, he made some plays.
Look, man, we have enough Heat shows on the network. I feel like I'm doing this on every show now. The Heat are in the playoffs. I've got to tell Jazz, stop watching the Heat.
No, I'm not watching. They're making it. They made a little run, but I don't think they're gonna do much. I don't think so. Montana Lemonious Craig.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, come on.
What a name, huh?
That feels like that's got to be. I mean, that sounds like a hurricane, doesn't it?
That's a South Beach name.
Yeah, come on.
That is.
It sounds like something out of The Godfather.
That does feel like a hurricane's name.
That does. I like it. You know who I'm going to go with? This is going to be funny. Just because of his name also. I think we talked about this a little bit, Vish. I'm going to go with Storm Duck. Right? We need a guy. We need a cornerback anyways, right? He's a good cornerback. He left North Carolina and committed to Penn State, but he didn't even make it. He didn't even make it.
So using my my Deion logic, you gotta like someone that took one look at Manny Diaz and was like, "Get me out of here." So I mean, that's good judgment. That's good judgment. So he's shown that he has that judgment. Yeah, but actually, I think
right.
it was
Big D and Tony Wiley. You're in the wrong. Show.
Yeah,
let's stick around. Appreciate it.
I think it was Melissa that had the take on. We gotta take him because his name is Storm.
Storm Duck. He's gonna choose either Oregon or Miami.
Yeah, Oregon would be perfect.
Yeah, right? I mean, flashbacks to Storm Johnson. Right?
Storm Johnson was a perfect guy. No, but in reality, there's a kid, that kid, the linebacker out of Georgia, Ryan Davis. I think that would be a huge pickup for the Hurricanes if they can pull off a guy like that. I know they need offensive line work as well because they still need some depth there. And to be honest with you, man, they could still be looking for a guy to start maybe on one of the ends. I know a lot of fans and a lot of people weren't super surprised or super happy with the way Jalen Rivers played. And so that's a question mark. I know Maugoa, being a freshman, did really well, but that's still a position that maybe he can still develop a little bit. You might want to bring in a guy with some experience there too. So I know there's a kid out of Wyoming that's a big time prospect to enter the transfer portal, and there's some other guys out there too. So we'll try to maybe list some more names next week, and hopefully. Oh, by the way, the announcement for the big guest will probably obviously is going to be moved to next week potentially. So be on the lookout for that. We'll have a really fun guest for you then as well. Guys, I think that at this point, look, when we get together again next Monday, the transfer portal will have closed. We'll have a better idea as to what Miami players are gone and how many more players we need, how many more positions we need to fill. So that's going to be an interesting conversation. And I think if we can get our guest on board to talk a little bit, I think that's going to be interesting to hear what he has to say about his alma mater as well. So
yeah, I think it'll be interesting to get different perspectives on how easy is it to plug and play an offensive lineman at this point. They missed all spring ball. Yeah. A lot of that is comfort with your teammates.
And I think this Dawson offense might not be too hard to pick up as far
maybe
as
not, yeah.
Well, no, who knows?
But it'll be a good discussion I think to have next week as well. Just kind of because I think we all agree we need more alignment. Are they actually gonna? I mean, we've definitely dipped into the portal brought in offensive linemen and then never seen them again. Tommy Kennedy. So, so that transition's not easy to go and start immediately. So.
I agree. So make sure you guys watch us next Monday night. But before you even get to that, tomorrow we got a really big show. It's the Six Rings Canes hitting the hardwood. No, we're still coming up with a basketball.
Coming up with the name. Okay.
But yeah,
you were not authorized to call it that, man. Where did that come from?
Hurricane Hoopla was what I.
Hurricane Hoopla. We got a couple of names for you.
We're gonna ask Coach Meyer to name it, so we'll see if she does that. But yeah, she'll be on tomorrow. That was always for
that's
tomorrow,
gonna be huge.
Anthony,
Coach Katie Meyer on the show tomorrow, right? With you and Mel.
What time is that? Oh yeah, I want to
6 p.m. Yeah,
hear that.
Definitely.
At 6 p.m. Coach Meyer will be on with us. And speaking of the portal, she has cleaned up in the portal. This team is loaded now.
Building off of that momentum from the Elite Eight, man. Absolutely.
This team is I would actually ask her how she's gonna get all these players on the court because she loaded up there. Yeah, there's and I don't know that people realize some of our freshmen last year that showed a little bit of that they need to mature a little bit. We had a couple last year's recruiting class had 2 McDonald's All-Americans in it.
Yep.
That they played some, but they're going to be starters. This team has a very high ceiling.
Yeah, good.
So this is going to be.
She deserves it. I mean, she's worked extremely hard over the years, and you know what? The whole thing is you play in a conference like the ACC, and there's some really good teams, as Virginia Tech showed this year. I mean, you could pretty much come from the back of the pack 3 years ago, they were a less than 500 team. And last year they were a number 1 seed. So it could happen. And yeah, it couldn't happen to a better person. Katie's a quality lady.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Make sure you guys keep it locked for that. And we'll be back next Monday also.
We got a baseball show coming right now, dude.
Oh boy.
I don't know how I'm doing this. Oh my goodness. All right. Keep it locked for that. We'll see you guys. We'll see you guys whenever. Just follow us. Follow us on Twitter at Six Rings Canes.
Yeah, just find the link for the next show. We'll be right back.
That's it.
The Six Ring Cane Show. Yeah. The Six Ring Cane Show. Yeah. The Six Rings Cane Show. You know.